All right, good morning everyone. So today we're gonna do a few stops that are here right off I-10 just north of Quartzsite and a few within Quartzsite. These are all places that any vehicle can get to. You don't need four-wheel drive, you don't need high clearance, you don't need a UTV, you can get here in pretty much anything. So the first stop we are at is called the Quartzsite rock alignment, and basically back in the mid to late 40s, they used to do a lot of bombing flights, practice runs over the back of the mountains here, and this would help direct them back to the base or old landing strip that used to be, I believe it was on the south side of town. So this rock alignment is what helped them get back, you know, back in the days before GPS. So it's pretty neat. It's actually out here off of Plumosa Road. It's down a little ways, probably a couple hundred feet off the road. So let's go check it out and see what it looks like. As you can see, here's the queue. It's about 100 feet across. I'd say each letter is probably 10, 15 feet in height. Then you can see they used to be painted white. You can still see some of the white paint on the rocks. And the white paint obviously would have made it a lot more visible from the air against the same colored dirt, but it's kind of hard to see from the ground, obviously. This isn't meant to be seen from here, but we'll get the drone out and see what it looks like from above. All right, guys, so that was a pretty cool stop. You can see it definitely a lot better from the air. You can see the north-facing compass arrow, and I actually showed the mileage back to Quartzsite as well. So we're gonna hop on down the road here, probably about a quarter mile. There's one more thing out here just at the base on Plumosa Road that I want to show you guys, and then we'll head on down the street to a few other spots. Okay guys, so now we are at, we're actually about a mile down the street, still on Plumosa. We're gonna do this short little hike on this trail here. We are at an archaeological site, so no motorized use beyond these signs. And we're gonna wander down here, and there's something down here up over this hill I wanna show you guys. All right, guys, so we have made it to the Bouse Fisherman. Now this is in Intaglio, or geoglyph. Basically, unlike the rock alignment that was above ground with rocks, you can see this is actually indented in the ground. The rock's been pushed aside. So from above we can see the fisherman, fish, clouds, the sun, even his spear. So it says that they actually thought that this was a mythological story of a god, Kumastamo, who thrust a spear into the ground and made the mighty Colorado River. Pretty neat. Again, not really something you can see from the ground, but we'll get the drone out and see what it looks like from above. It's definitely an absolutely gorgeous place. It is a little overcast today, so a little bit more shadowy than normal, but you can kind of see, you can see one of the fish there. You can see his leg here, the body and the head, and then his spear is that white chunk over there. Very cool. All right, so that was a pretty neat little stop. Pretty cool to be able to see it from the air and actually get the whole picture from there. So now we're gonna head back into Quartzsite, and I've got 2 other stops down there. So shortly after you get to Quartzsite or drive through, you're probably gonna notice there's camels on everything. Every sign, there's camel figures, camel this, camel that. So there's some history behind that. So now we are actually at the tomb of someone named High Joly. So this is the tomb of High Joly. He was actually born in Syria. The government brought him here to test camels out here in this harsh environments as opposed to horses or donkeys. So that is where you get all the camels in Quartzsite from, and he was the camel driver. So he came out here with the US government, and they actually started the Camel Corps, and he did some various testing with the camels, which they did prove they did work out here in this environment. But I believe it was later then shut down. So he is actually buried here, and I believe he's buried with one of his camels. This was actually his camp. This entire cemetery was his campsite when he was stationed here. Here's a sign up the front. It's got a little more information on it. So High Joly, his real name was Philip Tedrow, or Haji Ali. He was hired in 1857 as the camel herder in the U.S. Army's short-lived historic Camel Corps by Lieutenant Edward Beale. He wanted to, chart a new wagon road across New Mexico and Arizona, ending at the Colorado River. In 1861, the Civil War commenced, ending the day of the Camel Corps. High Joly returned to Quartzsite, trying his hand at mining, packing, scouting, delivering the JACKASS mail, and selling water to travelers. I actually don't know what the JACKASS mail is. I'll have to look that up and see if I can find any information on it. But it's definitely a very cool history here with Quartzsite. They actually, every year during the winter, they have a guy that comes down from Oregon that brings camels down. You can do camel rides, pet the camels, get pictures with the camels. So definitely a neat part of Quartzsite's history. The cemetery is actually just right here in town. It's actually 1 block off the main road, so it's very easy to get to, very easy to find. But as usual, I'll put pins and links down in the description to the information about High Joly if you want to read a little bit more about him. All right, so we've got one more stop to do, and that'll be it for today. All right, so we are at our last stop. We're actually down here in the Tyson Wash LTVA. This is the easiest way to access this. You can also access it from west as well. Like I said, all the roads here are passable by any vehicle to get here. This is probably the worst of the roads. There are a few large rocks, so just kind of be careful. The easiest thing to do is just park right here. If you can't make it any farther, down into the wash and then just walk. We're headed right for that little rock cliff right there. Okay, and here we are. Excuse me. These are the Tyson Wash Petroglyphs. I don't know how much you can see in the camera here. We'll try to get up to some of the panel. But there is just a huge panel all up on this little cliff here. There are a few of these little cave holes around this mound. I'm up here on top of the whole cliff, and it looks like there is some remnants of some art right here. Looks like the stone is broken away and some of it's missing now, but you can see the stripes, some sort of a, I don't know, maybe a hand or sun or water, I don't know. If you have any idea, let me know. There is some other remnants up here on top. Some of this may be much newer, especially since this is much more easily accessible up here at this point in time. So this may just be some recent graffiti. So I'm up on top of the ledge where the panel is. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's actually a little squiggly line on this little side section there that's kind of cut off. See if I can zoom in a little bit on it. I don't see a whole lot up here on the actual top, other than those few that I showed you that may not be very old. These ones, this little panel here is a little harder to make out, but you can definitely see the images. Looks like some sort of a figure right there. So definitely a pretty cool spot. Lots of glyphs up there on the panel. Some of them definitely harder to see. And actually, now that I'm standing a little bit farther away, ooh, I just found another panel right there that has actually some really good figures on it. Yeah, definitely when you're here, you want to kind of move around. And of course, there are some initials up there that are quite recent. But I'll get the drone out and we'll fly the drone past it and see if we can get a better look at some of the stuff I can't reach. So definitely a cool little spot. There's lots of glyphs up there. There's actually, and I'm not going to show them to you, but directly across the wash behind the camera there. So if you're standing at the glyphs, put the glyphs to your back, look at the little rock cliff right behind you, And if you go up on top of that, and on the back side, there's some old corn grinding holes. So you can go check that out too. But definitely a cool panel. I really couldn't figure out any discernible figures. You know, maybe you guys can. But I always wonder when I see these glyphs that, you know, these days we speculate and theorize on what some of these might mean, you know, like a humanoid figure breathing fire, you know, and we interpret that as them telling a story about some mythical god or something, when in reality it was probably somebody had some wild tacos and had some heartburn. But you know, I feel like sometimes we put a little bit too much thought into what some of this stuff might mean. And, you know, I mean, it certainly could, but at the same time, I tell stories about heartburn all the time. So if back then you didn't have anybody to tell it to, and all you had to do, the only way you could tell it to anybody was to inscribe it into the wall, then I guess that's probably what I'd be doing too. So it's just always fun to look at some of the images and just kind of imagine what in your mind that might mean. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the video here. Like I said, you know, all these spots are easily accessible to any vehicle. And as usual, I will put the links to information on the Bouse Fisherman, Quartzsite rock alignment, Joly's Tomb, and I'll put any information I can find here on the Tyson wash petroglyphs. I'll put all that down in the description for you. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. I'm going to head on back to camp, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope this was something a little bit different. I think next video we're going to do a little adventure off into the mountains. Haven't decided whether we're going to go by vehicle or maybe by bicycle, but we'll see when we get there. And like I said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys on the next one.